Blessings and blessings and blessings. Thank you guys so much for tapping in and tuning in this evening. My software, StreamYard, is having an issue connecting to all the Facebook channels. So I had to make sure that it is shared across my pages. I believe you should be seeing it on all of the pages now. So we can get on with this wonderful show this evening. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for tapping in, tuning in. Instagram, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for tapping in, tuning in. I see you guys on there. Stick with me, stay with me. If you guys would like to have a different view of what we have going on here, use YouTube or Facebook. It does a little different. We're going to explore some videos. I'll just pick up my phone and show my other screen here. Let's go ahead and get some shout outs here in the space, in this room. Yes, sir, Mr. Christopher, thank you so much. You are in the space. We acknowledge you in this evening. Hopefully all is well, all the way from Michigan. And I say that because I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hey, Miss Dolores, I know that you are in Detroit, getting ready and prepared for the NFL draft, which is awesome, which is really cool. Having your city, the reawakening Detroit, right? Mother White, thank you so much. Bless you, bless you, bless you. We appreciate you. We honor you, and we give you space this evening. Thank you so much, Mrs. Marie. Yes, you are the one of the legacies. Been around for a long time. All you guys have been around, but I appreciate you. Got a chance to meet you. If you guys are around, as you see each person, right? Hello, Miss Yoshi. The Queen. Good to see you and have you here this evening. And you guys on Instagram, I appreciate you so much. So much, Mr. John Thomas. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, sorry, John, because I see Miss Rose. You are special too. Everybody's special, but like each person has this thing, I would say, that is a gift, right, to my soul in various different ways. I met her and she was went to a restaurant and she was at the bar, and I thought it was really interesting seeing her there at the bar reading a book. Long story short, we start talking about spirituality. Come to find out she used to be a Mormon. And boy, we talked on Instagram once. Not planning on having her and another young lady that was, she was a Jehovah's Witness. And the systems that these people have to, it's amazing, the systems that they have. Let me do something with this wild hair. I really don't care. It just needs retwisted. But anyways, Ms. Rose, y'all stick around because this is going to be an amazing, I promise you, transformational, transpersonal Reverend Johnson. Hey, he's in the room, in the building. I see what you got going on. You guys, I pay attention to your pages. Pay attention to what you have going on because it's about the community, right? It's about us exploring and expanding and expounding on the greatness of who we are as we are. Hey, it's so good to see you. This is a dear friend, Mrs. Mylene. Mylene is from Puerto Rico. She lives here in my city. Blessings, dear, blessings. You will enjoy it this evening. Every bit, hopefully, that you understand, you will be able to one day help me translate it into Espanol. So beautiful. Well, without further ado, let me go ahead and just um, let this music go for a little bit. And I appreciate you this evening. And thank you for your time. Our time is important. If we don't know that, you on Instagram, I know Instagram doesn't like to stick around, but that's okay because you swiping and swiping and swiping, and you know that's why you go to YouTube or Facebook because you get to actually sit and actually take this in. It comes from me, but it's actually to all of us as I'm just being essentially a channel, and also a vessel that I have taken the time to spend time contemplating and doing this, but also I have had the privilege and blessings and the life that has almost chosen me to be around some of the most prolific people from Bishop Pearson to, I mean, Dr. Monroe working on a project for some of his people. Um, and of course, a lot of them have the traditional, but also I still have the privilege and benefit to be around some people that's been through, like brother, my dear brother John Thomas, who has been through a lot of trainings and growth work from the 70s and 80s and 90s, things that were revolutionary in their time. And I believe they're revolutionary even as we speak. And tonight, the um, is there an awakening that is taking place? We hear people talk about these things all the time. We talk about various, you know, times in life that we've had like these connections to something outside of ourselves or something deeper, some deeper understanding or higher level of consciousness that has brought us closer to understanding more about us. And as we get into this, I would love it if you would, of course, like, share, comment, keep the comments rolling, and you guys can get to know various people. Miss Dorothy, hello. I'm glad you're in the room, in the building. Yes, yes, yes. I love that photo. That is wonderful that you have that so we could see. If you guys see that, I mean, I'm going to deviate real quick. Anytime you do social media like this, as we go out, because I look at everyone here as people that are pushing and moving forward, because in order for us to not only witness but take part but actually begin to move this thing, right, where we are at is we have to participate in moving some aspects of this because the consciousness is raised. As it begins to raise, it has a lot to do with us. Understand? This has a lot to do with who we are as we are. But tonight we're going to begin to speak on unveiling the next great awakening. Are we at the cusp of something, and what does it mean to have a great awakening? People have talked about it over the years, but I believe a lot of times we don't know that these things were happening until after they happen. Huh? spirituality is the spirit's reality. Huh? Unveiling the next great awakening. We've had all sorts of different movements within religion, and these movements have been a part of the the progress of us, even though there's been manipulation and control, and there's been a lot of different aspects of religion that has been used and is used to do things. And especially in our country where the income capitalism is a part of the fabric of our country. And so the way these systems work is it works in a way where the money begins to rule or take advantage, or the money begins to become a thing. But we're not here to talk about religion itself by itself, because there are some things and aspects that the intentions of these awakenings, um, within ourself, a lot of it has come from our beliefs. I come from, most likely you guys come from some level of religion. If you from America, 9 times out of 10, you've had some kind of relationship. You've had some kind of connection to Christianity without choice, because that is just what has been the dominant and the belief system that has been set before us through the colonization process. And religion seems to have this real big tie in to the essence of who we are, the essence of being who we are, becoming who we are. And anytime it comes to when we start talking about these things, especially spiritual, but not spirit, let's separate those two. But anytime we start talking about spiritual, we always will dovetail spirituality, and those things to religion and to God because of history. But tonight, we're going to break those things down. And first, what we're going to do is we're going to explore and we're going to have a little fun. Okay. And Instagram, I'm going to have to move you guys over. Brother John Lewis has entered the room. Everybody stand for the metaphysician, as he's from, he hails from Atlanta. He is one of my dear and great friends. That is, yes, he's a part of this great movement and a part of me as we begin to all come together and move this thing forward and enlighten each other and the world because of what we are capable of. We're going to find out some things tonight, folks. We're going to find out some big, 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 big things. And hopefully, you guys can have some enlightenment, some understanding, right? And we're about to explore. Greetings. Thank you, sir, for tapping in and tuning in. Please like and share this post as we continually move forward in this. So first, what we're going to do is, I know Instagram can't see this, but right now we're on this part right here. You, me, we, right? This is us. You, me, we. On this earth right there, on this planet. You guys see that? And Homo sapiens sapien. I want you to guys kind of remember this, because right now you got to understand the level and understanding of consciousness right? And who we are as we are in this understanding of consciousness, there's going to be some things that I want you to do, right? Because this thing's, as far as conspiracies, right? How do we formulate these conspiracies? Even how does religion actually become part of this thing, right? How did we even get to this point when belief systems belief systems are patterns. We all have systems. We as a person that has a deep understanding and knowledge and work with programmers and work with developers to create items on the internet, to create physical items. As a consultant, I've worked in various different ways to help things come to life. And um, one of the things I do understand is I understand programming, I understand development, I understand how do we be creators. Most people, you can create a song, you can create music, but when it takes a team of people or it takes more than one person to create something, you can begin to understand the God factor in how we are able to create, able to do, able to be, able to move in a whole new different light. How consciousness had to expand, our consciousness had to expand, allowing us to do what we're doing tonight. Every one of us is dealing with a microprocessor. Every one of us is dealing with uh, fiber networks. Everyone is dealing with electrical pulses and electrical energy that is being regulated and has been pushed and moved. Right. Merely the fact that we're able to all participate within this has a lot to do with our abilities to become godlike, become creators or co-creators, to realize and understand that there's this thing that we created called language. One of the greatest technologies is the language. In belief systems as Homo sapiens sapiens, we're not going to go too much deeper in that, but we have this thing called language. We developed language over time. That was one of our greatest technologies, still yet is one of our greatest technologies, right? To have language. And we're going to move to this stage and we're going to listen to a guy who just passed away, wonderful theologian and mysticist. But the talking tree, right? Everybody heard of that story in the Bible, the talking tree, right? Oh, somebody went and said, that tree's over there talking. They're like, what? The tree's talking. Do you hear it? I don't hear it. Well, that tree is talking. And it's almost like the stories, how the stories begin to evolve and then people begin to believe. Goes back to how we get memes. Anybody ever heard of memes? Actually, that comes from Richard Dawkins. But we're going to put this chart down for a minute and we're going to explore something real quick. And what we're about to explore will explain itself as we watch this video. Oh, okay. No sound. Hold up. Let me fix the sound. Let's see. 1 second. 1 second. We got to have sound. It doesn't work if we don't have sound. Oh, okay. I got to do something a little different. Okay. Here we go. This quirky software. All right.
Now, once I've defined religion, then there are some things which look like they're religions that don't meet the definition. Okay, so they're former religions, or they're pseudo religions, or honorary religions. I don't care particularly about the definition. Seems to me to capture the most important thing, that is the belief in a supernatural agent, and a good one. That distinguishes it from simple superstition, for instance. If we understand that as what religion is, then the question of whether God exists, whether such a supernatural agent exists, is actually, I think, of less importance than to the modern world than maybe it once was. There's lots of arguments for and against the existence of God. I don't know many people who care about those arguments, even who know them. I don't think it convinces anybody. And people say, that's not what's important. Okay, what's important? What's important is not the theology, but the institutions and the loyalty and the tremendous sense of love and allegiance that people have.
And the claim that it improves our lives and our families and our way of our well-being and all of those things. All right, so there are a lot of counter arguments to that too. All the bad things religions have done, but some people would say that on the whole, it's better rather than worse. But rather,
and I'm not necessarily one of those. I think the jury's out on that. I'm simply agnostic about whether religions have done more harm than good, and will continue to do more good than harm, or harm than good.
But what you would like us to do is to subject the religion to some analysis so that we can understand both its origin, its current situation, and maybe predicting where it would come if we really understand it. So So let's make some progress on this. If we're going to do this, and I think that's a legitimate exercise, no matter what your fundamental belief should be. I mean, it should be subjected to these kinds of analyses. What are some of the methodologies that we should begin to think about looking at a study of religion?
Well, I think we have to think not just historically, but biologically. We have to realize that Homo sapiens, us, we descended from earlier hominids. We share a common ancestor with a chimpanzee going back about 6 million years. A lot has changed. And as Darcy Thompson once said, everything is the way it is because it got that way. So let's look at the history as best we can. We have to do a lot of extrapolation and some speculation and see what religion adds to the mix that makes us so different from all other animals. And I think we can do that. I think we can see both what its origins were in superstition, which grew out of an overactive adoption of the intentional stance. When it's something, and this, by the way, is a mammalian feature we share with say, dogs. If your dog hears the thud of snow falling off the roof and jumps up and barks, the dog is in effect asking, who's there? Not what's that, but who. It's assuming there's an agent, might be a dangerous agent out there. This assumption that when something surprising, unexpected, puzzling happens, to treat it as an agent until you learn otherwise.
That's the intentional stance.
That's the intentional stance. And it's an instinct, not just in us.
And it's an appropriate one.
It's an entirely appropriate instinct.
I don't want to get eaten if I'm running around on the plains.
It's on a hair trigger.
Yeah.
And so
it has to happen instantly, or it's not going to work.
That's right. You don't want to wait around with this. You want to fire, have a lot of false positives, a lot of false alarms.
Right.
Now, in the dog just goes back to sleep after a minute. But because we've got language, we mull it over in our heads, and pretty soon we've conjured up a hallucinated agent, a little forest god, or a talking tree, or an elf, or something. Well, what made that noise? Now, mostly those are just harmless little quirks that we have in our heads, and we soon forget them. Every now and then, one comes along which has a little bit more staying power. It's sort of unforgettable. And so it grows, and we share it with a neighbor. And the neighbor says, what do you mean, a talking tree? No, there's no talking trees. You say, yeah, I could have sworn that tree was talking. Pretty soon, the whole village is talking about the talking tree. Maybe they're all saying, it's crazy, no such thing as a talking tree, but they're all talking about the talking tree. The talking tree idea has entered the world. It has made multiple copies. Everybody in the village has a copy of the talking tree idea. What's it for? It's for itself. It just happened because it could. It's like a virus.
And it may be from time to time that one of these little quirks gets randomly reinforced by, I don't know, a good fishing catch or some animal, and then suddenly the good result is like an operant condition back to that little quirk, and it gets expanded.
In fact, B.F. Skinner did some experiments with pigeons on just that, randomly reinforcing them, and pretty soon they were doing quite elaborate little dances. And sure, this isn't religion. This is just superstition. And it melds perfectly in with their lore, their physical lore, their natural lore. But sometimes they get the idea, well, if you say a little prayer to the talking tree before you go hunting, then you do a little better on the hunt. And so it goes. And the line between good lore, I mean true, accurate lore about where the food is and so forth, and the sort of embellishment is, they don't draw it. They don't think of it as a religion. And gradually these ideas, which naturally infiltrate into their community and get copies in all the heads locally, they sort themselves out. There's competition. There's only so much room in people's heads for these things. And the ones that are unforgettable, the ones that really are catchy, will get copied and passed on and passed on and passed on.
These are the memes.
Those are what Richard Dawkins would call memes. That's right. They're cultural items that reproduce in people's brains.
Are y'all tracking? Just a little bit. I'm going to come back to you. Are you tracking just a little bit? I'm watching the comments. Are you tracking? Are you tracking Instagram? Just a little bit. He's talking about biology, right? He's talking about Homo sapiens, basically. He's talking about us and how we derive. I'm telling you, you're going to have a transpersonal, transformational interaction that's going to spark you tonight as I tell you some more things. So you don't no longer need to be mad about religion. Are you? Hey, I still come from Pentecostal. Don't fight religion. Stop fighting it. Raise up in consciousness. Become anew. Become awakened. Don't let the monkey brain rule you. We're about to end this. He also mentioned memes. Everybody's talking about memes. They don't even know where memes come from. They don't know who Richard Dawkins is. And they're doing memes. Just track. We got a long ways to go.
And their only purpose is their own propagation?
What are they for? They're for themselves. It's like when I first started studying religion, people said, oh, an evolutionary account of religion. What do you think religions are good for, Dan? They got to be good for something. After all, every human group that's ever been studied has some kind of religion. And I said, well, yeah, every group that's ever been studied has the common cold, too. What's it good for? It's good for itself. And these ideas are just good for themselves. They're good at reproducing in minds. Whether they're good habits or bad habits of mind, they're good at reproducing in minds.
In one sense, that's a neutral comment. It's
that's
not
right.
positive
that's
or
right.
negative.
Now, those are, if you like, the wild memes, because they don't really belong to people. People don't take care of them. They're not. Now they're going to get themselves domesticated. And now, just the way sheep acquired shepherds, and it was very much to their genetic benefit. There's millions, hundreds of millions of sheep now. So some of these wild ideas got shepherds as well. They got stewards. They got people who would devote their lives to spreading these ideas, to protecting them, to teaching them, and so forth. Now we've begun the domestication of these wild memes. And that's where we get organized religion.
The wild memes, sheeps, shepherds. We really needed shepherds to actually do sheep that way because they were flipping animals. We don't need no shepherd. That has just related and corresponded with history because of the fact of the level of consciousness that existed within that time. We're still operating off of this mind because the religion, as it stays stuck, keeps us stuck. And it's afraid to expand and expound. And I will tell you, because spirituality is not the answer. It's just a part of it. This will end.
Now that telescope's a very complicated story, but the main step is it starts out as it were, wild superstitions that happen just because they can.
Yeah.
They're getting in the cracks of our cognitive machinery. Then they're around, they can be used. People begin appreciating them. People begin to use them for other purposes, and now we're on our way to organized religion.
Back here, Instagram, I will flip you guys around. So, track with me, right? We have us and who we are, where we are. Homo sapiens, right? We are the modern human that is able to think, breathe, think what it's thinking, right? That what makes us really unique and different. I don't want to go into the biology, the biology of humans and where we derive from, because yes, we do derive from, but I mean, that's such such an involved history that when you try to become a archaeologist by just listen to what a person says and you try to become a scientist, right? And you just listen to what they say and you just take what they say. Oh, he said we are, we derive from chimpanzees, not monkeys, not gorillas, chimpanzees. It's different. And when you look at my face structure and you look at somebody from Africa's face structure, you will see the difference because of evolution and also because of DNA. And if we want to get deeper, we'll go into epigenetics and we'll visit a little bit of Greg Braden talking about this is where I'm getting to reveal and show you the spiritual or the cosmic or the awakening that is merging science, spirit, us, and the practices that we have had, right? So the talking tree is when you think about the Bible and you think about all these superstitions that have been written and rewritten and then they become true and we say they're true. And if they're not true, if you don't believe that they're true, then there's a big problem, right? Huge problem. Look at him. Absolute love is going. That's John Thomas. I knew he's about to like lose his wits because this is on some of his level, if you will. Superstitions, right? The language has developed, and you got to imagine during certain eras in time that people we couldn't even read or write. Only thing we could do is just hear and tell stories, and it's in a limited language. English is one of the most difficult languages because you have to one word could mean three or four different things. I want to lose track. The talking tree develops into, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is all of our religions and things over time in the course of history. In the midst of all this, guys, we're still dealing with consciousness. After we develop these patterns and these things and these ways of being, and right, and we begin to share it, we also get used to and connected to how to manipulate. We get to connected to the sacred practice, which can be, I think, something that we all need to still take part of certain practices to keep them or make them sacred. We'll go back. We'll talk about that later. Religion is a history of is religion is history. This is Malachi. Religion is just our history of our belief systems and consciousness of a killer. Let's see, equality, right? Let me think where I was going. Religion is history, right? And the consciousness of, let's say, 1870, the consciousness of 1800, the consciousness of 1750 still believed in that same, let's say, Bible. You tracking? They still believe in that Bible. What happened to the God of 1700 if that is all right in the sense of awakenings? Because these were spiritual awakenings as we break out of certain things and principles, right? We have these awakenings where we break out of these things. And so the consciousness within the religious practices in in the 1700s and 1800s were to actually say we can rightfully kill individual people because we want to, and we could put this on God. And those were the systems that we had. Those were the belief systems. And so these same belief systems are still in existence today to a certain extent that's locked into part of the consciousness because of DNA. And because of the memes, right? The memes, it has and will evolve. But because of the memes, that is us rehearing it, re-listening, rehashing it, developing music, developing more and more and more and more money coming into it, and all these various different things that we have, right? We have all these different things that make things like the church big. And even science. We're going to drop down here and we're going to talk about the spirit versus spirituality. Because some people always, you have never heard this teaching. I promise you've never heard this teaching until tonight. And that's breaking spirituality from spirit, from religion. Because spirituality and the religious practices that were sacred actually did have some power when used in a heartfelt way. It did and could have power. It could have power. Spirituality and spirit and the evolution of spirituality, spiritual evolution, which is part of conscious evolution. I'm not just throwing out words. You could go look at these things up, and these are deeply researched. And conscious evolution is something I love with Barbara Marx Hubbard. And there's all kinds. I got all kind of, if you come here you deal with me, you get documents and downloads, right, of life. And I'm not just speaking out of my ass most of the time. I really try to do the due diligence. This is whenever it comes to the research and understanding the trajectory of this human species, and not just a great awakening, but our power and our importance of what we do, not necessarily trying to develop another system, but systems are things that make things easier. Spirit versus spirituality. Let's take a little dive real quick into understanding that although I'm spiritual and although I can get woo-woo, right, and I can get all yogaed out and everything else, which I dearly love, but one thing we have to be careful of is the experience, right? The experience and making the experience the thing. So now let's take a dive and listen to a really profound man as he talks about religion versus spirituality, but he's not just going to talk about what we think, which a lot of times we talk about religion, Christianity. Let's go with this.
What is the difference between religion and spirituality? Religion is all about what we have seen, dogmas, beliefs, and certain principles. We also believe that all religions, as God is everywhere, God knows everything, is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. These are all belief systems. Dogmas are very rigid things. Hindu who worships Krishna is the only one. Problem with Hinduism is being polytheistic, believes in everything. And it comes from very well substantiated experiences of the sages who in Vedic times felt the presence in everything. So they found it apt to worship everything. The mountains, the trees, the sky, animals, other human beings. And they could not differentiate because they could not help but experience things in everything. But today we worship cows and buffaloes and trees and sky and everything without experiencing, and that is creating problems. That makes you very rigid about the whole thing. Without experiencing, you are approaching. And we do things and we remain satisfied. Oh, they did it, we are doing it. What is the difference? The difference is they have the experience. That's the main thing. We don't have the experience. Problem with monotheistic religions, Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. We are the best. No one is better. That ego is there, say. Unfortunately. They believe, all religion believes in externalizing the presence of God. He's in the temple. He's in Tirupati. He's in Dwarka. He's in Kashi. He's in the temples, in the mosques, churches, temples. Nothing wrong with it. But one day, you'll have to internalize that external presence. What happens when we do visit temple? You wait for 2 hours, right, or 3 hours, and if you're VIP, maybe in 2 minutes you'll go to in front of the gods or goddess. Striking example is Tirupati. People wait for 2 hours in lines to enter the temple. And the moment they enter the temple, what happens? You are standing in front and your eyes close. For whom you waited for 2 hours, your eyes closes. What are you trying to do there? You are trying to feel the presence in your heart, trying to feel something in your heart, which you could have done at home. And some people become so emotional. They throw money, they throw gold chain, they throw bracelets. Does God require any bracelets from you? And think over it. Does he take it to heaven? Only the priests and the trust, they'll enjoy all this. When you do all this against the will and wishes of your family, that is the situation of religion, and much worse. We are indoctrinated. How? That if you don't do this, these are the repercussions. You might go to hell. And if you do this well, you might be rewarded with heaven. That all religion says that. Everything they say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Why? So that you can get all that you didn't do here up there. These are all tricks of the trade. That is religion. Spirituality now. Whatsoever is said as a belief system that he is everywhere, is omniscient, is omnipotent, you experience that in spirituality. So, spirituality is not about belief, but spirituality is actually actualizing the belief into experience. God is everywhere. Through spiritual practices, you can feel the presence everywhere, starting first with yourself, that yes, I can feel His presence. There is no denial of it. And then when you see that presence and also witness the presence in others and everything else that surrounds us, then the dependency on the external thing just drops off. You don't need the crutches when you can walk on your own. You don't need a wheelchair when you can walk on your own. When you can experience God, why must you adopt external means then? See? So spiritual people are generally understood as some people against religion, but that is not the case. They are much ahead. They have transcended the belief system. Religious people are happy with the belief system. Oh, I believe in God, it is sufficient. But deep down in your heart, do you really think your belief is good enough? What have you done with your belief? Spiritually, it is said, I have seen the sun, I have seen the stars, I have seen the flowers, I have seen the river. I don't need to believe in stars and sky and flowers and rivers because I don't need the belief because I see things. I don't need to believe in God because I experience the presence. See, this is a drastic difference between religion and spirituality. In spirituality, you personally experience. In religion, Pandits do it on your behalf. They will recite some slokas which you don't even understand.
Boo! Spirit, the pneuma, breath of life. Deep breaths in, all the way from the core of your body. Deep breath in. As you feel it rising up in your body, awakening the energy within, the God factor within. It is with you. It is here now. It is with us now. We are the great awakening. Here's another real short one.
What is the core difference between religion and spirituality? To me, it's that religion is restrictive, whereas spirituality is liberating. You see, religion, as it commonly exists, gives us a dogma to adhere to. It tells us what is true and false and asks that we unquestionably accept it. It tells us what is right and wrong and asks that we act accordingly. If we do adhere to its dogma, religion promises us incredible rewards, such as heaven. But if we don't, it warns us of gruesome punishments, such as hell. Spirituality, on the other hand, does not tell us what is true and right, but instead allows us the freedom to question our beliefs and start our own quest for the truth. It does not tell us how to live, but instead encourages us to examine our behavior and understand the consequences of our actions. It does not promise us heaven or warn us of hell, but instead provides us with tools to help us discover a peaceful state of consciousness. Having said that, the lines between religion and spirituality are blurred. Since many of the world's religions do originate from spirituality and still contain aspects of it, But in their perverted, dogmatic form, religions are, for the most part, antithetical to the essence of spirituality, which is a journey toward truth, peace, and freedom, not blind belief, fear, and obedience.
Ooh, blind truth, fear, and obedience. Another thing I heard when we look at the dogmas is that these things constrain us to believe only in this restricted aspect of the source of life. Even if it is inclusive, nothing against it as we begin to process these things. Because one thing about human biology is that after so many years of being bound and locked up in this manner of fully embracing who we are and our divinity, it can be really tough as we do shadow work, right? As we ask and request, and the ego begins to show itself. That's the reason why I even say that you have to be careful with understanding the under the guise of spirituality, because there's ego that could be involved in that also, where we get spiritual bypassing is where, in a way, you could begin to see people that are religious, people that have been stuck in the systems and the patterns. I know people today that are spiritual and they're open, but they're still stuck. And the reason why it's a problem if you get stuck, because you still are externalizing God. That's one of the things that the Abrahamic faiths do. And they only believe they're right. But one of the things is our experience, and Brother John Lewis will talk about Christ consciousness, right? Christ consciousness. What does it mean? What does it look like? You heard it in the videos where a lot of this stuff stemmed from spirituality. A lot of what we know and understand within the mystics and the Gnostic gospels, if you will, and if we were to get into the Ethiopian Bible, and then we get into the Kemet, and we get into the things that brought us to this very moment in time and essence, in order for us to even develop these levels of technology, come from spirit. Steve Jobs was a transpersonal meditator. Meditation is one of the biggest and best ways for you to go in. That's right, Miss Marie, spiritual but stuck. And we have to work at getting unstuck. And that's where PTSD, complex PTSD, which we will have Miss Dorothy one day. This coming next month, I want to have more things talking about mental health and when it comes to this, and helping us unlock and break free, so that we can begin to usher in, if you will, this awakening. Because there's some things that's going to happen, that's going to take place within the awakening. Spirit versus spirituality. Just real quick, as you on this quest, I just want you to know, spirituality, I think, is a practice that we do, but spirit is spirituality, spirit reality. Tracking? You follow? Now, where do we go from here? Woo! 2 more videos. There will be quick. 2 more videos. 2 more videos. There. It's going to be good. It's going to be quick. All right. Woo! Here we go.
something beyond the standard evolutionary model. And I love that Fred Hoyle quote that you gave that I heard you share as an astrophysicist.
British astrophysicist, yeah.
Yeah, about a tornado.
He said the odds, when he was asked at a conference, he was going through all the math, and somebody in the audience said, cut the math. What are the odds? And he said, let me put it this way. He said, the odds of human DNA forming the way that it formed to make us who we are today are the odds of a tornado sweeping through a junkyard and on the way out, leaving a Boeing 747 behind. And we all know that's probably not going to happen. So that was his way of saying, and this is, the scientific community, this is why they're stuck. Because there's a huge difference, Andre, between revealing new discoveries and new information and forcing those new discoveries to fit into a pre-existing model. There's a huge difference between doing that and revealing new information and allowing the information to lead to the story that it tells. There's a reluctance in the scientific community traditionally to do the latter. Where the information, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more deeply, where that information is leading takes the scientific community to a place that they are traditionally not equipped to deal with. And so they prefer to avoid it. They're not bad people. I have friends in academia, and I've asked them the question. They say, why can't you teach this to your students? And they're the age I am. I'm 70. So they've been teaching, 40, 45 years. And what they say is, we're going to let the next generation of professors deal with this problem. We would have to change all of our class notes. It makes us look wrong as professionals to have to go back and change the story. And I tell them, I said, no, it actually validates the power of science because it shows that science is so relevant. It's made to be updated as new information comes to light. It's a living story. It's not a static story. So for me, once I began to understand on a personal level that the mutations that give us our humanness cannot happen in nature. Of course, that begs the question, how did it happen? What a lot of people don't know, my degree's in geology. I have studied, and I'm an amateur archaeologist. I don't have an advanced degree in archaeology, but I've done a lot of archaeological work. I'm a scholar. I've done a lot of historic work, ancient texts, ancient traditions, traveled to the places where the people still live that preserve many of these traditions. And all of that led me to the question, if we are the product of an intentional act that occurred 200,000 years ago, where would we find the evidence of that act? Would it be left on a temple wall in Peru that could crumble after a few thousand years? Would it be in the Middle East on a scroll that could be burned or hidden
Watch
or,
it, Pamela.
Destroyed in some way? And then I began to look at my artist friends, and every one of my artist friends does the same thing. When they create something they're proud of, the last thing they do is they sign it. They put their name on it. And I said, if we are the product of an intentional act, it makes sense that who or what is responsible for us would have left a signature. Where would we find that? And I was asking this question in the 80s and the 90s. We didn't have the internet. Early 90s, we started having the internet. Didn't have computers like we do now. So a lot of what happened was by hand. My sense was it would be in the DNA of all life. And you say, well, how could a message be written in the sticky, gooey stuff inside of a cell? Because that's the way we're taught to think about DNA. Well, this is a big story, and I'm not sure even where to jump in. But let me say this. In 2007, Japanese scientists released a report showing that they had stored written information into the DNA of a bacteria. And they chose this bacteria because it replicates quickly. So they could look at hundreds of generations of bacteria and then take that 100th generation, pull the DNA out, and the information was still there. They proved that DNA is a very efficient information storage medium. That was in 2007. The question I had been asking is, did this happen to us a long time ago? And the way it took me 20 years of original research to have the answer that satisfied me, it became a book in 2004 called The God Code, was the name of the book. And the bottom line is this: if you take the chemical codes that make the DNA in our bodies, they're made from elements that you find on the periodic table, and every one of those elements has different ways to represent it. It's got mathematic representations like valence number and atomic weight and atomic mass. Those are all different numbers that represent the same element. Hydrogen, for example. And I began looking at that periodic table and wondering if that somehow would correlate to the ancient languages that have been left for us that tell us who we are. So now shift gears just briefly. There are 4 root.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? If you're checking your phone, stop
Hold
that.
up.
Instead, try this technique from the mind science pioneer.
We're
Or
almost
core
there.
alphabets that all alphabets are derived from, thought to in one way or another. There are originally 6. 2 of them have been lost. The 4 that remain are ancient cuneiform, ancient Sanskrit, Arabic, that's still used today, and Hebrew, that's still used today. Those are the 4 root languages. One of the great mysteries of linguistics, I'm an amateur linguist, is that every one of the ancient languages has always had numbers that represent the letters. And the science of interchanging those numbers is called gematria. And I want to just make a distinction. This isn't numerology. Numerology is a loose derivative that doesn't follow the rules of gematria. There are 32 rabbinical rules that were laid down in the 2nd century Common Era, CE, AD. They use CE now, Common Era, rather than before and after the death of Jesus. 32 rabbinical rules. And for gematria to be valid, you've got to follow those rules. So I said, if the DNA of our bodies holds a language, is it possible that the numbers could be the common link that would allow us to go from chemicals to letters? In other words, is it possible, can I read the DNA in my body like I read the letters on the page of a book? And the answer is yes. It took 20 years to figure that out. And the information in our DNA is in layers, and each layer has a different code. The first layer is considered as the introduction, just like you would have an introduction into the page of a book. So now what we're doing, Andre, is we're putting on an IT hat. And rather than looking at biology 101, where you have a cell, and in the cell you have a chromosome, and the chromosomes are made of genes, now we're looking at the cell as a library. What if the cell is a library? And every chromosome is a book, and the genes are the paragraphs and the sentences in that book. And that's exactly what's happened. It's a very different way of thinking. And I caught a lot of heat for it in the scientific community. Once I started talking about this, I lost credibility in some circles. And that's okay, because it's by crossing the traditional boundaries that have separated our way of knowing in the past that we gain new wisdom that leads us beyond the boxes. And so I wanted to go beyond the boxes. So what I did by hand initially was I went through and took all the elements in our DNA. It's primarily hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon. This is what we are, different amounts: hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon. I looked at all the numbers that represent those and made a list. About that time, computers became popular, and the human genome was now available on a computer. So I could actually take DNA and look at it, what I'm actually dealing with here. At the same time, I went back into the ancient languages and I looked for a number of the elements that would match the numbers of the ancient language. So I'm looking at the periodic table, correlating it to gematria. And there's only one number that works. Took 20 years to figure it out. And that is atomic mass. The atomic mass of the elements of our DNA correlates to the letters of the ancient alphabets. And here's the beautiful thing, is the message that it reveals is exactly the same in all four. It's the same in Arabic, the same in Hebrew, the same in cuneiform, and the same in Sanskrit, and probably other languages. Those are the four core languages. So when we make that substitution, when you use that numeric link and literally into the DNA bases, cytosine, thymine, guanine, adenine, when you go into those bases and you make those substitutions, it actually spells out the answer to probably the oldest question that we've ever asked. When we say, who are we? The translation of the first layer in the DNA, the introduction of every cell in our body reads exactly the same. And it literally, this isn't a metaphor, it literally reads the words, God eternal within the body. God eternal within the body. And the name of God that's written in our DNA is exactly the same as it's written in the oldest spiritual and religious, our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions. That name is actually written into the DNA of our bodies. So what we can say with absolute certainty is when we forget who we are, when we think our differences are so great that separate us through the attempt to isolate us and break the social bonds, and we no longer know who we are, we need look no further than 50 trillion cells in the human body, and the first layer of every one of those cells that literally says God eternal within the body. It doesn't say who God is, where God came from. And people have said to me, the rabbis came down really hard on me and said, we've tried to keep this secret. What gives you the right to reveal it? And I said, because I'm not a rabbi. And I said, if we were ever going to reveal this to ourselves, what better time than now, when we're on the verge of destroying the very essence of the humanists that we love and cherish. We're on the brink of war. This was in the 80s and 90s, right at the end of the Cold War, another war we were on the brink of. What better time to reveal this than now? And why wouldn't we want to tell ourselves that we are God eternal within the body? We're not some random process, the result of a random mutation, slow, gradual evolution. There's an intentional intervention and a signature to tell us about that intervention that literally says we are God eternal within the body.
Woo! We got one more, but I want all of us right now. God eternal in the body. God eternal within 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 the body. Raising the awareness of who you are as you are. It's in your DNA. It is in your DNA. You see that? It's within us. Not just from a esoterical, spiritual, woo-woo standpoint, but scientifically it is in it. And there's a blueprint that needs to be decoded. Deep breaths. Raising awareness to all that hear. Raising awareness to all that seek. Healing is here for you today. Nature. Go to nature. Be in nature. Connect to nature. We're decoding. You have to journal because it's within you. Don't think, just let the word flow. Learn meditation. Study, be with meditation. Monitor your food and breathe. Monitor your relationships and your sex. Arise, awaken. It's not to come, but it is here. One last word. One last word. Deep breaths. See, one thing that I know within religion is the sacredness that we prepare ourselves, our minds, our bodies. Silence. The music that is used vibrates the DNA, vibrates the frequency that's within you. Feel that. One last word. Most people may have not seen this, but I'm here to tell you this is where a lot of this began for me. As I began to help this young man into expanded consciousness, because consciousness is already expanded in it. It is expanding to us, but it is expanded just like the awakening that we are waiting on is here because it's within us. We're jumping timelines. Listen to the original word that came to my special friend, Bishop Carlton Pearson.
And about 2 or 3 minutes before maybe you'll come back. I've been sitting here for the last hour getting ready for this, so I want you to be ready to take some notes and download what you can and pay as close attention and listen carefully, because we have 1 hour to talk about this from 8:30, which will start about just a couple of seconds, 8:30 to 9:30, and then we'll be back again next Thursday, and we'll continue this so I can get this message to you. Okay? Bless your hearts. Get ready for a wonderful evening. I'm Carlton Pearson, and welcome to Streaming Consciousness. This is a network for progressives, spiritual progressives, for people who are ready to make the next shift in consciousness, the next space and place and awareness, self-actualization. So I want you to open your heart, your mind, your spirit, and say amen. Open up to everything that you've ever questioned or queried about. You don't want to ever lose your curiosity. You want to keep thinking and feeling and believing. So I'm your fellow sojourner in expanded consciousness and radically inclusive love. This network is about emerging and converging progressives who are looking and leaning toward expanded consciousness, something more than we've known or experienced in the past, something a little bit more powerful, something more pivotal. We all sense that change has already begun, and we're willing to make and manage and master this change in personal, pivotal, and powerful ways. And so tonight and for the next few sessions, I'm going to talk to you about the new age days and ways of seeing, of being in the world. I'll use the Bible and other ancient texts to discuss these mysterious and revealing times and the shiftings of consciousness and culture. And you're going to have some questions, and later on I'll make this available to you so you can actually download it in an ebook form. And some of you are going to have some questions, lots of questions. You just go to askcarlton@bishoppearson.com. askcarlton@bishoppearson.com. There will be questions. If you want me to see them and at some point perhaps address them, I want you to pay close attention. It's going to be very, 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 very special, very, very, very powerful. Okay, we're ready to go. I think I'm on. Imagine I'm on. Can you see me? I want to start with Matthew 28:20. And you don't have to go there. I'm going to actually read this to you, and you're going to know that it's scripture, where Jesus says, "Lo, I am with you always, infinitely, even to the end of the age." The King James Version mistranslates it world, which would be cosmos in Greek, where we get the word cosmopolitan or cosmetics, the ordained arrangement. But what the actual Greek translation from the original Aramaic would be, "Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the aeon," where we get the English word eons, refer to the eons of time. "Lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age." What is he talking about? Age. Could he be talking about the age of Pisces, the fish, Ichthus, our Lord cometh, Maranatha?
America is a place where you can be anything you want. Your opportunities.
Talking about the end of the age of Pisces, and I alluded to this last week, to the age of Aquarius, aqua, water, air. Aquarius is a sign of water and air. It's called a water sign or an air sign. Mist, mysticism, breath, wind, spirit, enlightenment, awareness. There's an emerging and converging new Christianity or spirituality, I like to say, that no longer interprets Christian hope as some pie in the sky future or paradise that they alone will enjoy, and only those who agree with their theology or their eschatology or their exclusivist beliefs. There's a group of what I call spiritual progressives. They're expanded in their consciousness. They've embraced this expanded consciousness, and they view hope the way Jesus did, the way the prophets and shaman and mystics of old viewed it. They view hope the way the entire biblical narrative really views it, and we'll make that clear as we go through the series. They vision the world wherein peace and justice and plenty for everyone exists, inclusively, in the here and in the now, a world that reflects God's will on earth just as it is in heaven, as Jesus prayed, "Let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," or in the earth realm as it is in the ether or otherness of consciousness. A world where all people are treated equally, cared for, respected, fed, nurtured, for wonderful creations of God they are. We see everybody as part of divinity. And I've been sitting here for the last probably hour and a half preparing what will someday you'll at some point you'll be able to download as an ebook, because I think what I'm saying to you is so important. What time is it? What do we have to look forward to? Where are we going from here? What's happening in the earth? The shifts in consciousness, a global shift and what I call religious sensibilities. People are asking questions, answering questions, and then questioning those answers. There's a quest, a conquest, an inquest, a requests, questions. We want to know, not just believe, because we believe a lot and know very little. We want to know something. Pisces is the age of believing. Aquarius, and I'll make all this clear later as we go on, is the age of knowing. Self-actualization, I call it. Experiential, not just faith hoping. It is actually faith knowing. And in fact, the more you know, the less you really have to believe. Belief or faith is for people who don't know. Scripture says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. It also says that in the ultimate, they will all know me. You won't need a teacher. Nobody will teach his neighbor. You will need preachers and teachers and church as we've known it. For you will know, you will experience God for yourself as yourself. Now that's pretty strange, especially for me, man like me, a classical 4th-generation Pentecostal preacher, for me to say you can know God for yourself as yourself. And I'm calling that self-actualization, becoming actually, factually, functionally, punctually you, not an imposter, not an impersonator. We're finding people who are looking for a world where everybody's going to be treated equally and cared for and respected and fed, where there be no lack. Everybody, that's an illusion. Everybody will recognize whoever you are, regardless of color, sex, race, religion, political party, sexual orientation. Everybody's going to have a voice and a place. A world where people and nations, as the prophet Isaiah put it, beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, where nations no longer take up swords against nations. Or as the scripture says, well, we'll study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. Wouldn't that be great? We're not going to study war. We're not going to be focused on finding ways to destroy somebody or hurt somebody or hinder somebody or prevent somebody. That's the age we are entering. This is a wonderful, unlimited possibility for all of us. I am a strong proponent of it. So the next converging, it's really the converging of all the churches. Remember in the book of Genesis, God is recorded to have said in Adam to Adam in this narrative. Some of it's metaphorical and metaphysical and allegorical, if you will. But Adam hears God saying, you are free to eat or live off of any tree or truth in the garden.
What the science...
Spiritual progressives. Religious sensibilities. We want to know something, or is it that we do know something? For yourself, as yourself, no longer the imposter or the impersonator. Everyone with me? As you welcome in this person that you know is within you. It's within all of us. And it is at this time and moment that we don't wait for an awakening, that we don't wait for a shift. We are the shift. That video of Bishop was one of his first videos. He had a lot. But that was when he was first inspired to streaming consciousness. After being chastised, after being let go, dropped off, drugged as a crazy person. That is the shift that has happened. Deep breaths in. Hold your breath, if you can, to the top. Exercise pulling up from the core. Pulling, doing a Kegel. Root chakra. Release it. Are we going to carry on, carry out? The shift is here now. It's on us. Yes, we can do it within. If you're called, you can do it without a voice, and it will help shift. But for those who are out speaking, those who are delivering books like Miss Dorothy here, I have her book here. I have books everywhere. But there are some of us that are actively moving, seeking, doing, pushing, welcoming. I don't know completely where this is going, but I do know one thing, that we're here now. So it is. Thank you guys for tapping in and tuning in and turning on with me, Life Coach Malachi. Unlock your potential beyond your belief. Blessings. Blessings, blessings. I'm checking the comments, guys. I appreciate you for your time. I appreciate you for stopping by. Yes. Miss Gloria, finally free. Yes. Miss Gloria. Let me see here. I think I have Miss Gloria's letter. Miss Gloria, I got your letter. I can't wait to meet, because this is fire. Hey, I love letters. If y'all want to send me a letter, send me a letter. Please do. I love it. It's beautiful. Miss Deidre, I think we know something, and we are coming into that awareness. I like that picture, girl. Rocking it. Yeah. Miss Marie. Hey, Bishop. Shift happenings, fellow soldier. Merging and purging on earth as it is in the spiritual realm, faith and knowing. Look at what? Look at you speaking. Speak it, speak it, speak it. Here's my queen right here. Yeah, Bishop was tapped in. Looks like you tapped into something in that picture. Like, looked like God was like happy the day he created you. Miss Velma. I love you. You always are there. You always there. I got so many people. Miss Dorothy, you always are there. Look at you. Beautiful. Man, that brown skin be just popping. Wow, I don't know. I don't need to believe it, God, because I have experienced him. Wow. You've experienced it and you are it. Miss Gwen, yes, we do miss him. We do miss him. Yes, Miss. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the hearts. Absolute love. Each cell is an antenna to God. Yep, I love that too. God eternal within the body. That was it. It's a whole talk. I can go, man. I could do this like so much just because I study so much. And I just enjoy myself. Reverend Johnson, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Miss Gloria, I seen that. Yeah, I'm going through all the messages. Oh, yep, I always get this. And you know what? Don't forget, even though I'm getting to it, Divine Authentic Self, leave your email. That's where I'm going to really push the Divine Authentic Self, which is part of Life Coach Malachi. I also have some spiritual DNA coaching, teaching, and things of that nature that I mean, there's much. I need to just not talk about it. I need to just do it. There's the Cash App. I appreciate every piece, every bit. You know, you guys have donated. I do have something I'm gonna do special. I'm selecting people, you know, that I got. This is Moosey's books, one of Bishop's friends, but I'm gonna give these away. See that right there? This was a book. Looks like CDP has signed for somebody. I don't know. I'm doing something. Hold on, let me show you something. Going over his house and helping them out with stuff, and certain people, look, it still smells like him. Look at this. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just find some people. Look at that. Belong to Bishop Carlton Pearson, right? This belonged to him. To 2023, came from his house, but I signed it officially. So if somebody was like, "Ooh, how'd you get it?" Got it from me. Look it up. You can see my pictures with him. I'm finding stuff and we're gonna package it up and send it some things to people. I don't want all this stuff. There's so much stuff over Bishop's house. Bishop had a lot of stuff. I don't need all this stuff. This was Bishop's. This is Bishop's. It still smells like him. If you want to know what Bishop smelled like, that smells like Bishop. I go over his house and he's over there. What you doing in my house? Helping your people clean up. What you think? Oh, that was the Cash App. Make sure I do all this. That's Venmo. And that is the PayPal. Oh, I appreciate it. For real, for real. Only if you do. But it's all good. go back to the comments here. Sorry. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Mother White. You are dear to me. I'm gonna keep you tuned in. I'm going to be doing I'm working out with the Osage Force of Peace because I'm going to be doing gatherings on Sundays, not every Sunday. I know you go to church, but it may be like, could be after church. I don't know right now, but I'm in talks with Osage Force of Peace in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because I'm going to be doing some Sunday gatherings, and I think they'll be really, really special. Let's see. Go back to the comments real quick. Make sure I got everything. Malachi, I need to write some books. Well, I might need your help. Man, I love that picture. You know, I mean, you haven't had one that really shows. It's really clear. You know, I got lots of scars, and I got, you know, Bishop has left me with you guys, so, and some other stuff. You know, I think it's more of a gift and honor. To, I mean, this was Bishop's. This was one of his bracelets, and I got clothing, but I mean, this is, I want some people to have this because it can be special to certain people, and I believe that, you know, we don't worship, but we do honor, and there is some things that I believe people can be helped from people, and it's okay, you know. You love elephants, Miss Gwendolyn. Well, I'll look on my Facebook and make sure I try to DM and get some addresses. We are Christ delivered people. Yes. I've had ad free before. I just, you know, drop it. You're so sweet. Oh, wow. Wow. Man, you're taking me back. Wow. Wow. So 95. So you must have been like a sophomore or a freshman when I was a senior. Yeah, I used to play. Used to play. Yes, I inherited you. Like, you can have what you have, a bishop, and I'll carry on a lot of the legacy. You guys are beautiful. I appreciate you, and I thank you so much. I thank you so much. I enjoy doing this, but I also know that there is a calling on all of us to do what we are called to do. Okay? And the awakening and the shift is now. I'm tired of talking about the awakening that is to happen and being that as of now. Blessings, Queen. Blessings. I just know that people to grow, people to feel loved, people have been hurt by life, religion, and people. And if I could do anything, that is make a difference in one person's life. Can you imagine all of us like in the same space? I don't think we would ever go to bed, because I can go on and on and on and on and on about all kinds of stuff. What, you want to talk wine? We could talk food. I got chefs that are friends. Like I experience life, right? I appreciate you guys all. I appreciate you so much. We're going to do this again. I believe it's going to be May, and we're going to be talking about some mental health. Okay? I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And next week, everybody's coming back, right? I hope so. Have a good one. Love you. Appreciate you. And until then, blessings.